we're not immune to my laptop, I guess, shutting off and randomly restarting. See, usually I can blame the technical difficulties on myself. Like somehow it was a troubleshooting problem, but that I just had my laptop shut off real quick. But we're back. Hopefully you guys are joining back in on the stream. We still got it up and we're early on, so it's all good. But yeah. So let me get the notes up that I just had. Dude, that was fucking bizarre. I can't believe that just happened. Literally, it gave me an error message, which is I've never seen an error message on this machine. So, sweet. First time for everything, huh?
Absolutely.
All right. Sweet. So, as I was saying, we were discussing big contracts, guys getting paid, what guys are due to be paid, and then we're diving into some blockbuster trades that might happen, may or may not happen on draft day. And we got a lot of big names going around right now, man, especially with the contract situation. And then we're going to dive into some pre-draft predictions where we give our MVP, one dark horse team, one overhyped team, our division champs by division and their respective records, 3 wildcard teams per conference, and then some hot takes to end it all off. So, let's get started, bro. Let's do it. Gosh, I'm pissed, man. We had 4 viewers start this shit. Now we got, I don't even know what we got now, but I like
it's all good, brother.
It's all good. It is what it is. All right. So, first segment that's starting us off this evening is dudes getting paid, man. Like I said, a lot of money being thrown around the league right now. I mean, it's definitely unprecedented the amount of contract extensions we're seeing and the amount of money being handed out. The most recent one being Derek Carr. So what was it, like 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, right?
What, when he got signed?
Yeah, it might have even been less than that.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it might. It was either this week or last week, but it was definitely the most recent contract extension that we saw. Derek Carr staying along as the Raiders quarterback. He got signed to a 3-year, $121.5 million extension, and he is signed through the 2025 season. He will be 35 once he hits free agency. So that's a hell of a deal. What were your initial thoughts on the Derek Carr extension?
The Raiders are just in a tough spot because it's like, does Derek Carr give you the best opportunity to win? Or if not, who can you go out there and get that would give you a better opportunity than him to win? And unfortunately, they're stuck in a division with Herbert, Mahomes, and now Russell Wilson, which makes matters even worse. But they kind of drafted this guy to be their franchise quarterback, and they're in the win now mode because, like you said, he's 32 now. He'll be 35. Like, it's just a tough spot for them right now because you can't just completely sell right now because you've built your team around to win right now. They went out and traded for Devante Adams. I mean, if that doesn't say that you're ready to win now, I don't know what does. So yeah, it's a tough spot for them to be in. I think that Derek Carr deserves it. What he's given not only that team, but both cities between Oakland and Vegas. He's just a great guy. So he well-deserved on his part. And like I said, I don't know where else they would go besides Carr to try and win without selling the entire franchise.
Yeah, I mean, do you really think that Derek Carr is like not a franchise guy? I think I didn't think that obviously before. I think he's miles above Kirk Cousins. Like I know you. I mean, you probably don't have bias because of Kirk Cousins being in Minnesota, but dude, I think he's miles ahead of Kirk Cousins. Miles.
I don't know. I really don't. I think that they're very similar in a regard. I mean, Kirk Cousins, went to the playoffs, won a playoff game with Minnesota. I mean, Derek Carr's won one playoff game in his career with Oakland. And I'm not saying that like that is the backbreaker of them all, but I just see a lot of similarities. Like they're both going to be consistently ranked in between 10 and 20, but no higher than like 6 or 7 at the most.
Yeah.
Like they're eerily similar in where they're ranked in their things of that nature. Kirk Cousins probably going to have more mistakes. I won't deny that. But I think he's also probably going to throw for more yards. So you get the boom and the bust with Cousins a little bit more than Carr. But I think they're eerily similar in that regard.
That's fair. That's fair. I think Josh McDaniels, I mean, I've been saying that I believe I said this like a few weeks ago when we were talking about the Raiders. Like he would not, I mean, the guy's been in hibernation as in the offensive coordinator role for New England for, I mean, he could have had a job any number of these years, don't you think? So he chose to come out and the first thing that he wanted to do was extend Derek Carr. He chose Oakland because they had a quarterback that he can see building, obviously, like a championship level roster with. So I think if you put the right pieces around Derek Carr, because who's he really had? I mean, he was amazing with Amari, but outside of that, I mean, he hasn't had anybody.
All right, so let me ask you this question: if you're not going to take, who would you put them ahead of in the AFC West?
Who would I put them ahead of in the AFC? Like, I would probably put them ahead of the Broncos. I know that's a hot take, but I'm probably putting them ahead of the Broncos. And I really think the Chargers, I'll put them ahead of the Raiders, but not by much, man. Like, I think we're going to talk about our overhyped teams, and the Chargers were one of my overhyped teams for a while I was thinking through the process, just because I think they signed a lot of names in free agency, and they traded for Khalil Mack, but like those are, I feel like it's name value on that defense instead of like actually building a sound, solid defensive foundation. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I mean, I just if you put the Raiders, let's say, in the AFC South, I think they win that division. I just think they're in such a tough division. It's just that's why it's tough for me to see. I would put the Chargers and the Chiefs both ahead of them, and I would flirt with putting the Broncos ahead of them as well. And that's just, unfortunately, I think it has to come down to quarterbacks, and I'm going to take the other three quarterbacks over Derek Carr.
Wow. Okay. I'm definitely taking, after what we saw from Russell Wilson, I get he was injured, but after what we saw from Russell Wilson at the end of last year, I'm taking Derek Carr, and it's not really close. Especially with a guy like Devante Adams. Come on now. And it's not like they don't have chemistry. So I've got faith in the Raiders, but I'm a huge fan of the Derek Carr extension. Josh McDaniels chose this job because Derek Carr was the quarterback. And I
think it was warranted. You know, I think it made sense.
Yeah. And who else are you going to get, you know? Besides,
that's what I was saying.
Yeah. So it's the same. I agree. It's the same Kirk Cousins level thought process. I'll say that.
Yep.
That you align with Derek Carr. But all right, so Derek Carr just got signed to that 3-year extension to stay in Oakland, and then we have had a lot of other dudes get big time money recently. We saw Stephon Diggs, former Terp, as you rep the Maryland gear on the pod live. Yes, sir. But he signed a 4-year, $104 million extension to stay in Buffalo through the 2027 season. He will be 35 as well at the end of his free agency, which means a lot more when it's coming to talk about wide receivers than quarterbacks, you know. But Devante Adams obviously got traded to the Raiders and then signed that massive contract, which at the time was the largest contract in NFL history by a wide receiver. 5 years, $140 million. He signed through the 2026 season. He will be 35 by the end of his free agency. Do you see, with the Diggs contract and the Adams contract, do you think those are their last contracts in the NFL? Because they'll be 35, you know?
I hate to bring it up once again, but it's going to depend on how healthy they can stay. I don't know if they're going to produce at the rate that they've been producing at, but like, that's the thing is I feel like as long as the guys stay healthy, the longevity of their careers has definitely grown over the past decade or so. And it's because the technology has advanced, which has enabled, you know, rehab to advance, or just, you know, after a game, like the ice baths and machines and just everything is so much more advanced now to allow them to recover a lot quicker, which enables them to preserve their bodies longer. So I do think that these guys could go to like 37, 38 maybe. I don't see that being out of the realm, which it's crazy to think about. But yeah, I think that they do get one more contract.
Yeah, probably something for like, I mean, Jerry Rice, he's one hell of an example. But I mean, you could these are the caliber of players that Jerry Rice was. So I think definitely they could play beyond 35. It's not going to be. What do you think the length of that next contract is? What, like 2 years maybe?
Yeah, probably. Do you want to know the most ridiculous stat ever with Jerry Rice? After he turned 40, he had 185 catches, 2,509 yards, and 12 touchdowns. All other players in NFL history after turning 40 have a combined 2 catches for 4 yards.
Wow, that is insane.
And those 2 catches were by Tom Brady and Brett Favre.
Yeah, and I remember you talking about that the other day in the group chat. I mean, that's just unprecedented.
Insane.
And for a wide receiver, like a 40-year-old wide receiver to be running routes, like,
yeah, and during that,
gracious.
Hits across the middle and things of that nature weren't a flag. They let those things go. So the fact that he could do that after 40, he's like the anomaly, because nowadays, like I said, the guy's careers seem to be a little bit longer than before.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Carr contract, Diggs contract, Devante Adams contract, and then we had the Tyreek Hill contract when he got traded to Miami, and he signed a 4-year, $120 million extension off of his rookie contract, which expires after the season, and he's now signed through 2026, and he'll be 33 when he hits free agency, so he'll definitely get another contract unless all hell breaks loose. And then we dive into another quarterback extension, which thought this was wild, man. Matthew Stafford, 4 years, $160 million to stay in LA. It was definitely warranted. Just won the Super Bowl, but he signed through the 2026 season, and he will be 39 when he hits free agency. How's that contract hitting you?
I mean, it's, once again, like you said, it's warranted. It's like, hey, thanks for winning us the Super Bowl. We're just going to give you a shit ton of money. That's basically what that is telling me. And he's their best shot at winning the Super Bowl over the next 4 years. They've already basically, when's their next draft pick? Like 2025 at this point? Their first round draft pick, that is. They basically sold everything to win in the next 2 to 3 years. So why not add one more for 4? And like I said, just give him whatever money he wants because he just won a Super Bowl. Him being 39 doesn't scare me as much as it might scare other people. Like, I mean, I know his body got battered in Detroit, but I still think he can play through 39, maybe even 40, 41.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see him making it to the 40s. We've been gifted with Tom Brady's run. But he's
Drew Brees, Brett Favre,
Drew Brees.
Was Peyton? Did Peyton play till 40 or no?
I don't think he did play till 40. I know Brett did, but did
yeah.
Who's the other guy you mentioned?
Drew Brees. Drew Brees did.
Drew Brees did? I didn't even.
I'm like,
guess I forgot that for a little bit.
Hey, chat, if you know how long Peyton Manning or Drew Brees played till, provide us with that answer.
Amen.
Because I'm definitely very intrigued to see. Peyton's last year was 2015.
I don't feel like he was 40. Like, I don't know. Maybe he was, man. I literally don't have a clue.
No, I think he was 39. I'm doing the math right now. He was born in 1976. Yeah, he was 39.
39. So he was 39 when he retired.
Yeah, he was 39 in his last year, and then Drew Brees. Let's check him out real quick. But yeah, no, back to that. I think it's more of, we're just gonna reward you for doing what you did and winning the Super Bowl. And if you're that, and like I said, also, where else are they gonna go at quarterback?
Yeah. No, I mean, if this offseason has proved anything to anybody, it means if you have a quarterback, you should be very, very grateful, because you're either trading for a quarterback a shit ton, or you're just rocking with the guy you have. And then if the guy you have just won your Super Bowl and his name is Matt Stafford, you're probably doing pretty well for yourself.
Yep, exactly. Drew Brees was also 39.
I see. Yeah, man. I didn't think he made it to 40. Yeah, but Brett definitely made it to 40. But yeah, I think we've been spoiled. So I don't think Stafford will get a contract after he hits 39. I don't think there's a shot. But he will play through that contract. I think he'll be the quarterback of the Rams for that long.
How old is Ryan Fitzpatrick?
That's a good question. I don't think he's as old as everybody thinks he is. I don't think he's in his 40s yet.
He just looks old. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's 39 right now.
Yeah. See, all these guys sitting at 39, 40. 40 is the real mark.
Wow. That's pretty weird that we've looked up that I've looked up 3 quarterbacks and all three have been 39.
I know. That's 40 mark. It's hard to hit, man. I mean, 40 years old and still tossing the ball around on the national football field is insane. But yeah. So
For sure.
all right, let's move on to Deshaun Watson's contract, which really set the tempo for a ton of contracts across the league. Signed a 5-year, $230 million deal with the Browns after he got traded there. And that money, fully guaranteed, folks. And that is $80 million more than the previous record for fully guaranteed money. And yeah, do you have it in front of you? Or do you want to, or do you already know who the other contract was?
What?
Previous record for fully guaranteed money? Yeah. It was Aaron Rodgers.
Well, it was Rodgers.
Yeah.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So Rodgers got the most guaranteed money earlier in the offseason. And then Deshaun Watson topped that by $80 million, which is insane. And he's now signed through the 2026 season. This is like a baseball contract, man. And this kind of leads us into our next topic of debate. Like, this is a hell of a trend we're seeing here, man. Why are we seeing this trend now? And what does it mean for the league? Because we've had comments, J.C. Treader, who's currently a free agent, but he's still the president of the NFLPA. It's crazy how a lot of these presidents of the NFLPA end up without jobs. Isn't that? They were talking about that on the Pat McAfee show, and I was like, yeah, I mean, they do. It's like all pros, and they all end up without a job, like within a couple years after they become president. So that's
for sure. It's weird how that works out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's owner-run league, man. It's owner-run league.
I mean, I guess. Well, I guess it's also they're there to more be the voice for the players, not necessarily themselves. Obviously, they want to get paid themselves, but like at the same time, their top priority is what's best for the entire league and for all the players.
Yeah, but Treader's making the argument that like there should be 40 for Peyton. Yeah. Was he? We looked at Jaden said 40 for Peyton. Was it? We looked at we just looked it up. Oh, 40 at the day of his retirement. Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
Okay. So did he throw a pass in the NFL at the age of 40? The answer is no.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so this trend with contracts, we had J.C. Treader comment something interesting the other day. He's kind of made a public outcry for, I mean, public outcry is a hell of a way to describe it, but he's challenging agents to get more guaranteed contracts and guaranteed money for their players. And he cites the whole Deshaun Watson thing. Like it was $80 million more than the record for fully guaranteed money. And it's a new trend. It's what we're going to be seeing probably now that we have the Watson contract that exists. We are going to see a whole new level of guaranteed money being handed out. So how quickly do you think this trend is going to happen? And also another trend that we've seen this offseason is players not getting paid by the teams that had them originally. They just don't have the money to hand them out the largest wide receiver contract in NFL history. So they're just like, you know what? I'm not going to play for you. Trade me to somewhere else, and I'll sign the contract there. So are we going to see an NFL that's more like the NBA with players with less loyalty to their teams? Are we seeing more baseball-like contracts now with the guaranteed? What's happening, man? What are your thoughts?
I definitely think you can start seeing like the super teams being built. But at that same time, you're not going to see as big of contracts because if guys are wanting bigger contracts, they're not going to be able to create super teams because it's going to be more difficult unless you get them on your rookie contract. And that's where the draft really comes into play, because if you're able to, get these guys on rookie contract, like the Bengals right now, all those guys that they've got, all their studs on offense are pretty much all on a rookie contract. And that's why they're able to do so well right now and then spend elsewhere because everybody's on the rookie deal. The guy, talking about contracts and fully guaranteed and things of that nature and leaving teams that, they were currently on that they originally with and now leaving. Kyler Murray, I know we're going to talk about him in a little while, but the stuff coming out about him about not playing until he gets paid, man, that's a scary thought for Arizona because that's what all this is about right now is, talking about this money. It's a lot of these situations are your franchise quarterback, Deshaun Watson, Matt Stafford, Derek Carr. I know there's the other three are wide receivers, but your quarterbacks are such a staple point, and you're seeing that where if you can't get it in the draft, you got to do it elsewhere, and that's a ton of fucking money for Deshaun Watson. But maybe it'll pay off for Cleveland. They're great elsewhere. They needed to upgrade at quarterback, and they did. So, we'll see. A guy hasn't thrown. It'll be 18 months since he last played an NFL game. By the time that he does play in a game, but they went out and did what they had to do to put themselves in the best position to go and win a championship now. So you can't really fault them for that. But man, it's a lot of money that they just put on the table.
Yeah. So the thing, great point about the rookie contracts. I mean, you look at Justin Herbert's contract right now. I mean, the only reason that the Chargers were able to spend in the offseason is because Herbert, their main piece, is on a rookie deal still, But, and I mean, a lot of the same thing applies across the league with a lot of rookie contracts. But with this guaranteed money, how it works in baseball, and I know this very well because we signed Chris Davis to a massive 7-year, $200 million contract, and it was probably more than that. But I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. But it was fully guaranteed money because it's baseball. And the problem that you have in baseball is if that guy doesn't work out, then he's just dead money. You have to pay him. It's guaranteed money. So if something happens with Deshaun, and his recent behavior is suggestion that maybe he might be into some controversial shit. And
that's the other reason why I thought it was just like, man, you're putting all this money into a guy that, it's been reported that he's fine. He's, legally speaking, not going to have any ramifications, but man, you're still putting there's definitely some shit that was going on that he probably shouldn't have been doing. And even though he might not face any legal charges, the reputation and just the threat, it's always going to be in the back of Cleveland fans and Cleveland owners' minds.
I know. And something like that could definitely, and why you could, I get it. You had to persuade him to come to Cleveland and waive his no trade clause. So you gave him all that guaranteed money. But out of everyone, it feels like Deshaun Watson is one of the riskiest quarterbacks to give fully guaranteed money to, just in general, out of the league. Out of the guys eligible for this type of contract, But like I said, Orioles, they ended up having to just sit on Chris Davis and hope he works out for 6 years. And that could very well, maybe it doesn't happen with Deshaun Watson, but now that we're seeing this guaranteed money handed out, it could very well happen with a lot of teams. And then you have a serious problem across the league, So,
well, and I think the other thing with that, speaking of that, is the deferred money. So, Mitchell said Drew Brees was 42 when he retired. Oh, yeah, I did my math wrong. 79 to 2020 or 2021, I guess. My bad, Mitch. Thanks for pointing that out. The one thing I was going to say about deferred money, so the Orioles are going to be paying Chris Davis until 2037. Now, the Mets are the most infamous situation is the Mets paying Bobby Bonilla. Mm-hmm. He is being paid $1 million every single July. Beginning in, I think, 2000 to 2011, he was getting $2 million. And then from 2011 to 2035, he will get $1 million every single July, which is absolutely ridiculous. But that's what I think this might start to run into is just deferred money of some contracts at some point in time. Because that's the only NBA teams will probably end up starting doing it as well. It's the only way that they're going to be able to. The cap is there, but the cap really isn't there. And this is one of the examples of how you just eliminate the cap as well.
But the thing is, first, a guy like Bob and Chris Davis, the only reason we were able to defer Chris Davis' money is because he retired. You have to pay all of that money up front if he's still playing on your team. So, and Bobby Bonilla was the same way. So, in football,
I'll give you an example.
You aren't going to be able, he's going to have to retire first,
Von Miller. You think Von Miller is going to play all those years on his contract?
Nah. Me and Jaden were talking about that. No. He's going to retire in the middle of his deal, so then they'll defer that money. Right? Can you hear me? Technical difficulties over on Tyler's side. Dude, why are you... Oh, I guess Kansas City, yeah. I guess you're close to that. Makes sense that you got the Royals hat on. For once, I don't have my Orioles hat on. I've been getting berated.
All right, I can hear you.
All right, sweet. What's up, man? I was criticizing your KC Royals hat real quick, just off the dome.
Von Miller, do you think he plays out his whole contract?
No, me and Jaden were talking about that. There's no shot. He's going to be like 39, 38 when his contract expires.
There's an example right there.
So does that money get deferred?
That money.
Yeah, so that money's going to get deferred, but it's a lot bigger conversation when it's guaranteed money. Like Von's wasn't like fully guaranteed or anything. So if he retires, you don't have to pay him most of his contract after that, you know.
Most of it, but okay.
Yeah.
You're right there, but it like Matt Stafford, you know, maybe he doesn't play out all 4 years of his contract.
Yeah. No, that's true.
And you were talking about the wide receivers too, Diggs and Adams, same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And gosh, 35. That hit me crazy. Like 35 for wide receivers when they hit the market. Phew, I don't know if they're going to get another contract, man. We're talking about it.
I think it's more scary for me that Diggs is going to be 35 in 2027.
Yeah.
That means I'm going to be 35, 36.
Jeez, man.
It's crazy to think about.
We're going to have to.
Yeah, we're the same age.
We're going to have to kick you off the pod once you become too much of an old head, man. Gotta.
Yeah, I know.
Gotta.
Back in my day, Dante called me. I'm kidding.
You mean Dick Butkus and all those guys? All those young guns?
Get out of here. Get out of here with that.
All right, so let's move on from the contract talk. We got a comment, and I'm sorry, man. If I do you know how to pronounce it? Adroit Talk Show. That's the guy that Jaden's been doing the mock drafts with. I think it's
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, we got a comment, 2 fire emojis, and then a hot take. What was our hot take, man? I'm curious. What do you thought that was? Because we were just talking about the contracts and stuff. So just let us know when you get a chance.
Interested to see what that hot take might be.
Yeah. But all right, let's move on to some of the guys that are due for massive contracts, very similar to the ones that have been handed out so far and then we already reviewed. So, first guy in line, Debo Samuel. There's been a lot of talk about him getting his next extension, and there's been talk about him possibly. I mean, I'm pretty sure that he unfollowed the 49ers on a couple of social media accounts, and there's rumors that he might sit out if he does not get a contract extension. So that opens up the opportunity for him to get traded. And then the second guy I'll mention, he's further down on the list, but we got to mention it, Kyla Murray, who announced literally a couple minutes or an hour before we started the podcast that he would not be playing until he got a new contract. So he's either going to get that contract or get traded before the season starts. So we'll wait and see.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Top 3 destinations for Kyler.
Dude, I've got a saucy. I kind of want to save one of mine. But see, you got to think about it in terms of cap space, because the Saints do not have the cap space. Like, I know you can make it work, but he's probably going to get a contract very similar to the one Deshaun Watson just got. So you won't be able to easily maneuver that guaranteed money around as easily as you could non-guaranteed money. So the team has to have the cap space. Like, it's not just like a Packers situation where they just like are like negative 30 over the cap during the season. Like, they won't be able to do that anymore with a contract like Kyler. So I've got a team later on that can physically take on the cap, but some sleeper teams that I was looking at, I don't think they have the capital, but the Titans, maybe?
That's an interesting one. Definitely an interesting
one. Because Tannehill's contract is up after this year. So you would have plenty of money. And he's got the receiving core around him, A.J. Brown.
Yeah, but A.J.'s going to be due for a contract too.
Yeah, that's true. They're going to be a top 5 team in cap space, though. So they should have enough to pay. Because the Bills just had enough money to give Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen their extensions. So
and Von Miller.
Yeah. What contract is Derrick Henry on, though?
I don't know, actually. Check it out.
I'm trying to think of other guys that they would have to pay there. Not a lot. Outside of Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, your quarterback.
Nobody on the line?
You've got Bud Dupree on that big contract already. But that's
4-year, $50 million for Derrick Henry.
When's it expire?
Signed it in 2020.
Yeah, I think I vaguely
End
remember
of
that.
yeah, so you'd have 2020, 2021. So he's got 2 more years
Damn, okay.
this
They
year.
might not even give him an extension, considering the track record with running backs getting contracts, especially at that age.
Yep.
He'll get another contract, but maybe not with Tennessee. But anyway, that's just what any wild card destinations or top of your head destinations for Kylo that you got?
Dude, I know we were talking about it a little bit, but and I know the cap might not be there, but they could find a way to make it work. Pittsburgh just makes sense to me. I don't know why.
What
But
what makes you laugh?
I could see the Steelers. Just because I know some people probably aren't going to like that we might know. I don't know how Jaden feels about it, but I just it fits in my opinion. Outside of them, I don't know. I was thinking about that. Maybe Seattle, but kind of starting from scratch again. Because
I know.
If they bring him in, they're not going to be able to sign DK and
I know. I
Locket.
was throwing the potential trades together earlier, and I couldn't even put together a trade for the Seahawks because why would they trade for somebody like Baker Mayfield right now or Kyler Murray right now? They just traded away Russell Wilson. They've got 2 first rounders next year, 2 second rounders, so they're setting themselves up for the future. Why would you? I don't see them in any world trading for Baker Mayfield or any quarterback.
They should really just run with Drew Lock this year.
Yeah.
And if they do, if they're one of the worst teams, might work out because Bryce Young is coming out of the draft next year, and that's probably a guy that you want to go after.
I know, exactly. And I was thinking about that a lot when I threw together a lot of the trades that we'll talk about a little later. But people are going to want more capital, and I kind of centered it around this year just because it's more relevant, the picks this year. But people are going to want more picks next year, And Seattle,
For sure.
for two firsts and 2 seconds for a really deep class next year. That's awesome. They're set up pretty nice. So why would you want to spend you just got all that back and you got ride it out with Drew Lock for a year. But all right. So
Yeah.
Kyla Murray, Debo, both due for huge contracts. AJ Brown, another guy, due for a huge contract. DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, which I cannot believe we have not paid him yet. Lamar, who's yet to sign his deal. Any others that you can think of?
I know those are the big ones.
Yeah, those are the
that
big ones.
are kind of that quote unquote next in line to get those big contracts. I know that in a minute we'll discuss what I am looking at as the next in line after these guys as far as who will be getting those big contract extensions.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go ahead and talk about those next guys in line. And that is, I want to propose this topic of debate for us. How early is too early to pay your guys? Because we're in an age now. I mean, Tyrique Hill just got a massive contract, and he's still on his rookie deal. The amount of times that's happened in NFL history, maybe 0, maybe. I don't know, but I've never heard of it happening before. A guy signing because usually that's not how things work. You wait, you get franchise tagged, and then you sign your deal. But now you could just say, "Hey, I'm not going to play," and then they trade you, and then you get the deal. So,
well, it's definitely become a play. The players are really you were talking about these big contracts, and JC Treader saying, get more guaranteed contracts. That's where this is coming to play, is because these guys are like, well, I just won't play then, and you'll pay me eventually.
Yeah.
And that's literally what's happening.
Yeah. No, legit. So,
or let me frame that better. I'm not going to play until you pay me or you send me to somebody who will pay me. So either way, I'm getting paid.
Right. It's crazy to think about now because, when Le'Veon Bell did that, it was like, oh my God,
yeah,
you are the worst human being on the planet. Everyone looked at him like he was the menace. And now people are doing it as part of it's second nature,
Yeah, it's happening all the time now.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's a really players-driven league where we've just given them a lot of leverage in these situations.
Yeah, for sure. And they're just going to, with this guaranteed money, they're just going to get more and more leverage. But let's dive into how early is too early, man, because the next guys on the list that I thought of that were due for big contracts, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. who are still very early on in their rookie deals. But I mean, this is unprecedented territory that we're in. I think you got to start thinking about paying them. What about you?
Justin Herbert comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
I think Herbert's got to get a big contract too. I mean, I agree with both those guys too. And then like on the defensive side of things, like Nick Bosa, he hasn't gotten a big deal yet, has he?
I don't think so. Maybe.
I mean, I know the injuries concerns are like a little bit there, but like he's got to be getting a contract. Noah Fant, I think, got franchise tagged again. I think he was like the first player ever to get franchise tagged by 2 teams in consecutive years or something like that.
No Fant? Did he get tagged this year?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. Let me look that up. Chad, if you've got an answer on that, let us know for sure.
The tight ends I know got tags. Njoku, Gesicki, Dawson Knox.
He did not.
Yeah, I didn't think
I don't
so.
know where I read that. I read something. Either way, he's going to be getting a contract soon, I would imagine. So there's a couple guys there, but I would say Herbert is right up there with
Herbert for sure.
Burrow. And we always have that Burrow Herbert debate, and it's going to keep coming up for the entire rest of their careers because they were drafted in the same draft class, and they've both really worked out. Now the other guy in that draft class, Tua, does he get one?
No. not the kind of contracts that we're talking about in this like territory,
Correct. This year's a big year for him.
Yeah, no.
This is his career on the line this year.
Yeah, no, if he can't do it, I mean, you have that it's a Super Bowl ready offense. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but it's a Super Bowl ready offense outside of Tua. If he cannot do it, like I have a lot of faith in Tua. I think he will be able to do it. He's not going to be able to do it like a top 5 quarterback would. But I think he'll be able to operate just well. And I've talked about this with Jaden, like it's a Mike McDaniel offense. Jimmy G didn't really do that much in a Mike McDaniel offense. I mean, he just did the bare minimum of what was asked of him. And if it's going to be a lot of like setting Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle up to run in space, and it's going to be short passes just like it was with Jimmy G, and he's just going to be doing the bare minimum. He's not going to be put in a position to make these huge mistakes. I mean, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing though. Like the chance to succeed is obviously there, but like if you don't succeed, then Miami's got to move on. Like there's no way that Miami, if they don't make the playoffs this year, there's no way Miami sticks with Tua.
Yeah, no,
absolutely no way.
Because they're
unless he gets injured, and then they're like, oh, we'll give him another shot. Which honestly, me personally, I feel like that'd be worse for them. Like they need to find out whether or not this is worth it or not.
Yeah,
because you pretty much put all your eggs into one basket right now with everybody else that's surrounding him. You've cemented and committed to, and now you're like, all right, if this guy doesn't work out this year, we're moving on past there. One other guy or a couple other guys that actually I was thinking about one of these guys the other day, Justin Jefferson. I know he's only going into his 3rd year, but he is really establishing himself as top 5, maybe top 3 receiver in football.
He'll get a contract before Burrow and Chase, probably for sure.
Chase was last year, so that was only his 1st year. But like CeeDee Lamb's up there as well. I know Jerry Jeudy's been hurt. Michael Pittman is another name to keep in mind.
I'm not putting him into like the massive Tyreek Hill, Devante Adams type wide receiver. But Justin Jefferson could definitely break the mark for the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history.
T. Higgins is up there as well. Jamar Chase's teammate. I mean, there's a lot of really good young receivers that got drafted. I think that was the 2020 class when the Eagles basically gifted Justin Jefferson to the Vikings. Brandon Ayuk was in that class. I'm not saying he's anything big. Laviska Shenault, Van Jefferson was in there. So there's a lot of really good names that, aren't going to get those type of deals yet, but they will eventually. But I would say the next big wide receiver to get the contract, I would say Jefferson's right up there, just because he's a year ahead of Chase as well.
Right. But I could totally see a situation where, I mean, Jamar Chase he was probably one of, if not the best wide receiver prospect to come out since Calvin Johnson. And so the prospect talent is there, and then he comes in and he lights it up as his rookie year. So you can almost take this as a sure thing now. No signs of injury concerns. So maybe this is Tyreek's third contract? Am I tripping? Is that true?
I thought, yeah, I'm pretty sure he got an extension, right?
Because he signed. Oh, you're right. Because I was looking at the non-guaranteed money. The guaranteed money was all in his signing bonus. Yeah, you're right. That's good pointing that out, Mr. Jaden Kozak. Appreciate you watching and keeping the host on track, the producer. But I think with a guy like Ja'Marr Chase, I think he could get a contract right now, and nobody would say anything. Like, he could get a Tyrique level Devante Adams contract right now, and I would not bat an eye. Would you?
I still think he needs, like, I think that's the thing, is because we always hear the term sophomore slump, and I need to see one more year out of him. And I know you're flirting with it because the Ravens are kind of in the same situation now. I know Lamar Jackson was one of the names. Did they wait too long to sign him? Because they could have gotten him for a lot cheaper after his first full season compared to what they're going to end up paying him now. Similar situation with Washington and Kirk Cousins. Now, that contract, you can debate whether or not it worked out, for Washington to not sign Kirk Cousins. But that's another example of, when do you bite the bullet? When do you sign these guys? You're seeing it in baseball a lot earlier now. Guys like Wander Franco, Ronald Acuna Jr., Tatis was one as well.
Soto.
They're signing them a lot earlier, so that way the team is getting the friendly discount. But at the same time, those guys are getting guaranteed money paid right then and there. So we'll see. Those are good examples to see if it does work out, where signing these guys earlier on for cheaper is better, or do they end up blowing up in their face? So that's, those are going to be the big questions. But I think the 2-year mark is when you start, like Justin Jefferson right now is at a 2-year mark. So I think that's when those questions really start to develop as far as when do you sign him, because you need to at least make sure that they can do it on a consistent basis. Like, he can't have a good rookie year and then stay healthy all next year, but just not produce. He's got to still produce at a high level next year, and then you start having the contracts conversations.
I totally understand what you're saying, but I don't even know if you could take the risk. Obviously you could because you've got him on the rookie deal, but I think it would be a very smart business decision to sign Ja'Marr Chase to a massive contract right now. Yeah, because like you said, you see it in baseball, and obviously they're not the same thing, but it's starting to trend towards the same thing. So you want to have those guys locked up, and especially if you start giving them guaranteed money. I don't think there's a lot of room for doubt with a guy like Ja'Marr Chase. It's not,
but
like Justin Jefferson. There was still
the big question here. Hold on, the big question here is: does Chase sign a contract?
Shit. If he gets paid the third, if he gets numbers similar to Tyrique and Devante, which I think he should, if he signs a contract today, I think hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
See, I could see him getting 5 years, 90 mil, maybe 80 mil. That's what I could see him getting right now. I can't see him getting that 4 for 120 or something like that right now. After this year, maybe he would, be demanding that type of a contract. But right now, if the Bengals were to offer him 5 for 80, 85, I think that he could possibly take that offer, which would be, you're right, a team-friendly discount. But, it's a question, whether or not he accepts their offer and vice versa. And that's negotiation 101 right there, obviously. But it's definitely an interesting question to bring about, because could that be an example of somebody, and then you see that trend continue on years down the road? Could that set the precedent for wide receivers coming into the league?
Mm-hmm. Last thing I'll say, Tyreek Hill got a 4-year, 120 mil. So I think it won't be 5 years, 80 mil that they would offer him. I feel like that's a whole $40 million off, and with an extra year involved, I think you'll get a 4-year, $78 million contract. I think.
But Tyreek Hill's been doing it over a 6-7 year span. Ja'Marr Chase has only done it for 1 year.
No, I totally agree. But like I said, he was one of the best wide receiver prospects to come out since Calvin Johnson. So there's not really a lot of room for doubt. He's proved all the haters wrong so far. Like you said, there's the sophomore slump to come possibly, but probably not.
Well, that's the risk that you take because you've also got to think about it like this. If you don't sign, I think really and truly, they're probably trying to figure out which one do we want to go forward with, him or Higgins, because you're not going to be able to keep both.
They're
And you
definitely
can get
going
Higgins
Jamar
cheaper.
Chase, bro.
You would think that, yes, that would make the most sense for sure. But do you have enough to pay him and Burrow, or do you have enough to pay Burrow and Higgins?
Yeah, no.
And then your line as well that you got to worry.
Yeah,
about.
I mean, look at the Chiefs. Like nobody ever thought that they would ditch out on Tyrique, and I mean, it happened in a couple of hours once they realized they couldn't.
Prime example.
Yeah. So, no, you got a good point there. All right, so I want to go one by one down this list before we move on, and I want us just to rattle off whether or not we think that they'll sign their next massive contract with their current team or with another team. So we start with Debo Samuel. You think he signs with the Niners, or you think he signs somewhere else?
I don't know if the Niners have the money to commit to him right now.
I know.
I think he ends up signing somewhere else. I think it might be traded and then sign. But I don't think he stays in San Fran. I think he probably ends up moving on just because of how much he's going to demand.
I agree. I don't think they do not have enough money to sign him to the kind of contracts that Tyrique and Devante got. He'll get a little less because, I mean, like you said, they haven't proved it as much as those guys, but in the same breath, I'm over here arguing for Jamar Chase to get that kind of money. But yeah. So yeah, I don't think Debo's going to stick with the Niners either for that next contract. How about AJ Brown? I think AJ Brown. I think he does end up signing that next contract in Tennessee because I think Vrabel's committed to winning there.
Yeah, I think he definitely does. I think that they're probably going to end up moving on from Ryan Tannehill after this year, which, like you said, frees up some money to probably end up using that to sign him, and then probably look in the draft for your quarterback maybe next year or the year after. So yeah, I think AJ Brown, now that Julio's not there either. I mean, he's their only you got to have the wide receiver running back combo to compete anymore nowadays. So yeah, I think he ends up staying there.
Sweet. Okay. DK Metcalf. I think he's gone, man. There's no way he signs that contract in Seattle. No way.
I think he gets traded draft night.
Yeah, maybe.
I really do. I really do. I think
DK might stick around for this season. I think Tyler Locket gets dealt on draft night for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I'll put it to you like this: one of the two gets traded draft night.
Yeah. Hopefully we see some.
I agree with that. Yeah. If it's not DK, I do think Lockett does get traded. I agree with that. So no, I do not think he ends up staying there.
All right, Terry McLaurin. I think he does end up staying because it sounds like we're pretty committed, even though we haven't had a whole ton of talks. It sounds like we're pretty committed to signing, and we've got him in all our promotional stuff. Like we just need to get it done.
What do you say? 5 for 80? 5 for 90?
Oh no, bro! It's gonna be more than that. It's gonna be like.
You think?
Yeah, it's gonna be like 4.
What do you think he is? Do you think he's top 15?
Oh yeah, top 15 wide receiver in the league. Yeah.
You think he's top 10?
All right. Cooper Kupp, Devante Adams, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Diggs,
AJ Brown.
See, that's when you start to get into questionable territory, you know?
Debo, Jamar
Chase,
Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Chris Godwin.
Not Godwin. How about
CeeDee Lamb, Amari?
Oh, no. I think he's better than both those guys. He just hasn't had a quarterback. Like, imagine.
Oh, Keenan Allen.
He's Allen Robinson in a younger form.
Keenan Allen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably put him above. So there's probably he's in that range. He's in that top 50. He's definitely top 15, if not top 10. Like, I think he's
DJ Moore.
I think Terry McLaurin's probably
I think he's right there with DJ Moore. You know, I was looking it up. You know that two former Terps wide receivers, 2 of them are in the top 5 highest paid wide receivers in the NFL.
Dude, I saw that same kind of stat the other day, but it was not just regarding wide receivers. It was regarding, like, because J.C. Jackson got that contract this offseason too. It was like Maryland has like a top 3 most money in the NFL right now as far as like per player basis. Cool. Yeah, I know. Pretty cool, man. Maryland on the come up.
Yeah. Yeah, Diggs was 4 and DJ was 5. So it was pretty cool to see.
Lockett's contract is so bad they can't trade him. I don't know. Like, I mean, it is bad, but
Yeah,
he's still a good
it's
player.
a bad deal.
He's still good though, you know? Like if he were just sitting on his hands
Who
on
said
that
that?
money. Rubby. However you
What's up, Rubs?
But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty bad but DK hasn't got his contract yet, so that's it.
Yeah, I thought it was like 4 years 65, but it's like 4 years 70 mil.
I think
That's a rough one.
yeah, it is a rough one. He doesn't have I think he has 3 years left. I think his contract ends when he's 31, 32. I think I was looking at it earlier. But yeah, I think Terry McLaurin stays in Washington and signs his deal. What you think?
I agree with that as well. I think they are committed to him. He'll hit free agency in 2026. Tyler Lockett will.
Okay.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
I think McLaurin stays. I think he's kind of a centerpiece that they want to build around. I know they're going to want to keep Gibson as long as they can with him, but running backs, they're so fragile.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long he stays there. And then we'll see what happens with Carson Wentz, whether or not they want to stick with him or if this is just kind of another notch on the belt of Washington quarterbacks. And then they decide to go and do the draft next year, the year after. So I think that it has to start with McLaurin as being a vital piece. And he seems like he's a big locker room presence too. And, pairing him up with a healthy Curtis Samuel this year, I think, their offense actually could be solid, especially in a division that it's winnable for sure.
If Carson Wentz plays like he did last year, I think we make the playoffs. If our defense plays like it should, though, it needs to play like
the NFC is so bad, and the NFC East is also very bad. Like Dallas did nothing this offseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they
Philly, they've got their own question marks there. The Giants have a ton of question marks.
Robbie said, "What's good, boys? Keep killing it." Thanks, man. Appreciate
it, Rubs.
Yeah.
Lager's passed out, or else I'd bring him over so you could see him. But
what did he call him?
He's finally calmed down. Rubs.
Yeah. What did he call him earlier? He said
Lagenberg.
What a name. But then he just said it's the dead money if they trade him. That's the issue. Yeah. No, that's true because Seattle would be eating that probably. But what if they don't? Because I've got a team that can eat a lot of that contract in a proposed trade in the blockbuster section that we got coming up. So, and I think that team could trade for either DK or Tyler. And
let's hop into it.
Yeah. All right. So let's
because the only other person that we had to discuss was Lamar. I think he's staying in Baltimore. I think Baltimore does whatever they need to do to keep him there. I don't think it's really a question. It just for a Raven to be a Ravens fan, it just kind of sucks because you knew that this day was going to happen, and it's just probably 2 to 3 years too late. Mm-hmm. Which that brings up the question that we started with is when do you start to sign these guys?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think he stays in Baltimore too. Seems pretty motivated to stay there. And Kyler, I think he leaves. You?
Yeah, I think after the news today, I there's no way he can return unless once again they can give him the money. And this is another example of a player that just simply demands the money and gets what he wants. It's almost like they're spoiled kids anymore, but at the same time, they do deserve this money in situations and
multi-million-dollar children.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they are. Some of them decide to run off to massage parlors left and right, but hey.
And dudes like Kyler literally run around like he's a toddler on the field.
Yes, he does. I still think about this question to this day, and I know that he's gotten a lot of guarantee money for being the number one pick, but do you think Kyler should have went baseball? I'm just starting to think about it more and more.
Dude,
and we'll see what he does this year.
Whether
he could. I know he could.
Yeah, he could still go baseball. He could.
And he would still be good.
Yeah, I mean, he'd have to make it through, but he's a young guy. I mean, he could definitely still. I mean, it's a hell of a lot harder than making your way in the NFL. I feel like
for sure
because you got
a lot more steps.
Yeah, you got to make it through the whole minors, but
the guaranteed money is there with the NFL. But if he was the number 7 overall pick, if you're that high of a pick, the odds that you make it, I'm not going to say are 7. I would probably put it about 65-70% actually that you make the majors. If you were drafted in the top 10, I would say 6 out of every top 10 picks make the majors.
He's getting started a little late. in the process. They don't usually like that. They like to
For sure.
teach their guys at a young age. But I mean, he hasn't learned any baseball knowledge since leaving the sport, so it's not like.
But this is why he chose the NFL, is for the guaranteed aspect, because once you're drafted, it's like boom, here you go. And now he's going to get a big contract, whether or not it's this year.
Yeah.
It probably has to be this year that he
And
gets
that's
a big
why
contract, actually.
baseball gives out those guaranteed contracts, because once you make it to the show and you're solidified in the show, you deserve that contract.
Exactly.
So, all right. So you alluded to it, and I've alluded to it multiple times throughout the pod. We're doing a blockbuster trades section that could happen on draft night. And for this, I ran a bunch of ideas, and a lot of these are off the wall, I will say that. But there's definitely a lot to talk about. At least the destinations, I feel like, are pretty sexy. But for this, went through the PFF mock draft simulator, which they've got. It's basically the NBA trade machine on ESPN for the NFL, where you can trade picks and trade players and see how they would, what the percentage is that they would be accepted, what are the odds of that. And for these, I only did trades that had a greater than 80% chance of being accepted. So these are solidified trades, I guess, pretty likely to be accepted, but then again, it's just an algorithm that they're using. So, all right. And also, disclaimer, I only did trades that make sense with the present cap situation. Like, Kyla Murray to the Saints does not make sense with the current cap situation. Like, they just, with the guaranteed money, we've talked about it, with the guaranteed money giving out, there's no way that you would be able to manipulate that. And Kyler's going to get that huge guaranteed contract like Desean did. Maybe even more. All right. With that disclaimer out of the way, let's dive into it. So, the first one we got on the docket is Kyla Murray. And like we've been talking about, he will not play a game in a Cardinals uniform until he gets his bag. So, he's either going to get that bag in Arizona or somewhere else. So, he could very potentially be dealt on draft night. So, I'll throw this out to you, man. Here's the proposal that I threw together. So, the Falcons end up putting their toes in the water for Kyla Murray. They end up with just Kyla Murray. And in return, the Cardinals receive the number 8 pick, Calvin Ridley, and a 2022 or a 2023 second and third round pick, and then a 2024 fourth round pick. So, Falcons get Kyler. Cardinals get the number 8 pick this year, Calvin Ridley, second and a third in 2023, and a fourth round pick in 2024. What you think about that? Because the Falcons, they're in position for a quarterback, and they are one of the only teams that need a quarterback that can actually pay that kind of contract that he's going to get. So,
for sure. I mean, the destination makes sense. My biggest question is going to be, if you're the Cardinals, what do you view you're getting from Calvin Ridley? Do you think you're getting 1,200 yards?
Yeah.
10 touchdowns? I mean, who's your quarterback that's going to be thrown to him? Those are a lot of questions right there. If you think that you're going to get Calvin Ridley, I would put that the equivalent to, the production that you would get probably from a wide receiver in this year or next year's class. So it's kind of looking like 2 first-round picks. It's just a huge question mark of whether or not Ridley's going to come back. But that's obviously what the Cardinals are thinking, that we think that we're going to get a top 15. That's another wide receiver that we didn't mention. Mm-hmm. Top 15, top 20 wide receiver. That's what we're envisioning we're getting with this trade. It's a huge risk, though, because you're taking a guy that isn't going to play football this year. But I think that he is a guy that can continue working out. I think that he'll be fine. I don't think this will hamper I'm hoping this won't hamper his career a lot, because I'd love to see him come back and do really well. But I just wonder, if you're the Cardinals, why not try and maybe I would try and switch that second in 2023 to a first. I think if you can get 2 first and Ridley out of it, you're getting a haul back. That's what you want. The first round picks, because what you're also getting is you're going to get it from the Falcons.
See, I tried messing around with the first round picks. Outside of if you try to throw multiple first round picks in, I tried, and PFF is strongly against that, which I could definitely see Kyler going for 2 firsts for sure. But if you're throwing out the 8 overall pick already, I mean,
Bro,
that's pretty high capital.
the Texans got 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't think that they can get 2, the Cardinals? You don't think that they can get 2 out of this with Kyler
But the
Murray?
last time we saw Kyla Murray play, it was trash. You know? He was trash.
But wouldn't you? But wouldn't you? Okay, that's the last time he played. But wouldn't you
No,
put
not
him
just
on
the
this?
last time like he stepped on a football field. Like the second half of the season, he free falled out of the MVP race. I mean, he was not good.
So Deshaun Watson is better than Kyler Murray, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Do you think it's by a? I mean, we don't know. Deshaun Watson didn't even play football last year, so that's another thing that you don't know about.
The last time he did, he played good football.
But it's 3 first-round picks is what you gave up to get a guy that when he plays in his first game, it will be his first game in 18 months. At least Kyler played last year. And he was, for the first 8 to 10 weeks of the season, he was right there at the top in the MVP race. Maybe a different coach helps him out. Maybe going away from Kingsbury will help Kyler out. I don't know. I think that there is upside with Kyler. I think that he showcased how good of a quarterback he can be. Whether he will or not, remains to be seen. But I think that you could flip that second in 2023 to a first. And I would bite the bullet on that trade, I think.
Yeah, if you can, 100%. But you mentioned you get Calvin Ridley, and then with that number 8 pick, you could either take this package that you get and maybe trade the number 8 overall pick for a high pick next year so you can get a really good quarterback to throw to Calvin Ridley. Predicting the number 1 pick next year would be pretty rough because CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are going 1 and 2 next year. So you'd have to have
I was going to say, I can't. Stroud is eligible for the draft next year, right? Okay.
Yep.
I couldn't remember if he was eligible or not.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So those guys are going to go 1 and 2. So you have to have a top 2 pick. So it'd be pretty hard to figure out who that's going to be. Taking a shot at the Texans can't hurt, but maybe you could turn that number 8 overall pick into a first round pick next year. But you could also draft a quarterback with 8 if you feel confident.
You could also trade back with 8 and pick up more first round picks if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, both quarterbacks next year are better than all the quarterbacks in this year's class. I would take Bryce Young and CJ Stroud over any quarterback in this draft without a doubt.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where if I'm teams right now, I wouldn't push the message as far as going to get a quarterback in the draft this year. I do not see much from this quarterback class.
Nah.
Who was the class with Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins, RIP, and one other guy, right? There were 3 quarterbacks who was the other quarterback that was drafted that year?
Was it Trubisky?
No, he was with Desean and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, you're right. Danny Dimes, Dwayne. No, those were the top 2 quarterbacks off the board. I'm pretty sure.
Because that's 2019. That's what type of draft I could see with this draft class.
A lot of people have been shitting on these quarterback prospects. If you go back,
I've been shitting on him. Oh, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was the other one. Funny enough.
But yeah, it's hard to forget, or it's easy to forget because he went 1. But
right.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? What were we just talking about?
We were talking about Daniel Jones, comparing it to this year's class and shitting all over.
So a lot of people want to shit on this year's class, bro. If you go, and I have the screenshots because I was going to talk about it on a podcast a while back, but I decided to ditch it. If you look at the prospect grades of guys like Justin Herbert, guys like I don't know, the Justin Herbert was the one that stood out, but Justin Herbert's draft grade well aligned with the draft grades for the guys coming out this year. So, and you remember back, Justin Herbert had his questions, but there could be a guy
also had the upside. It's the same thing with Josh Allen. Josh Allen had his questions, but he had the upside. I'm sorry, but I know we talked about Carolina as being a possibility with this, but in my opinion, I just don't see Kenny Pickett as an NFL starting quarterback. He might be for a year or two because the team needs it. But I can't see over a 5-year span him maintaining a starting quarterback job. And you can take that and screenshot it
Take
or
it to the
do whatever
bank.
you want with that because I take it to the bank. I will stand by that opinion. I will not waver. I do not think that in 2026, Kenny Pickett will be an NFL starting quarterback. You heard it here first.
Nice. All right, fair. But how about a guy
And
like
then,
Malik?
and he might be the first one. Malik Willis is the only one that I can really see. Matt Corral, maybe he's coming off a devastating injury. It depends. And the other thing is, it does
But
depend
a lot of these
on
questions, like we had a lot of questions, like
situations.
now that we see Justin Herbert with the cannon arm in the NFL, it's easy to say like, oh yeah, he had that potential though. Like yeah, it's easy to say that, but when nobody was saying that when he was drafted, like the concerns outweighed the potential. So
For sure, but I didn't see much from. Once again, we're bringing this up. Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins. Like I thought there was absolutely bust potential with both of those guys. I think a lot of people probably did, and I think that people probably thought. I mean, think about this. You took this is my thing. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. Those are guys that can go to franchises and don't have to be in a system where it has to work for them. They can make it work for them. I think these guys in this draft class have to go to a situation where it is fit for them to win because they're not going to be able to go and win on their
like a
own.
Mac Jones.
It has to come down to fit with these guys. And if you force them into a situation like Kenny Pickett in Carolina, or really, I hate to be like this. I love my boy Marshall and I love my Panthers fans, but like any quarterback that goes to Carolina right now, I have a hard time envisioning them being successful over the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, with one of these quarterbacks for sure, for sure. All right. Either way, those guys they're going to take time to develop. It's not going to be. I mean, it could be Justin
For
Herbert,
sure.
but like you said, the only guy with the Justin Herbert potential is Malik Willis. I agree with that, but it's not like the gap is that huge. We'll say that. All right.
He's got the most upside
Yeah,
out of any quarterback in this draft.
for sure, for sure. All right, let's move on to from the Kyler Murray talk. Kyler Murray possibly headed to the Falcons in a blockbuster trade, including the number 8 overall pick and Calvin Ridley. Maybe. Keep an eye out for it. But the next trade we got is for Mr. Debo Samuel, who we were talking about. Recently unfollowed his 49ers on multiple social media accounts, so he might not be playing until he gets paid. So he might be dealt on draft night. And a team that I've heard in the running for, like here and there, not even like officially, but teams that would consider a guy like Debo Samuel, the Colts. And I have a Colts trade offer put together right here. And I was surprised because I could not load a first onto this. Tyrique got a first. Devante got a first, but I couldn't seem PFF. I couldn't get PFF to agree with a first. But I think there will be a first included in a Debo Samuel trade. But this is the one that I threw together on PFF. So the Colts get Debo Samuel, and the 49ers get center Ryan Kelly, who's one of the better centers in the league. And they need serious help on their interior line. They've got Alex Mack there playing center, but he's only signed for through next season, and he's also 37, 38 now.
Yeah,
So
I was going to say he's up there in age for sure.
yeah, so Ryan Kelly would definitely be a significant replacement over Mack, and you could just cut Mack if you wanted to. But yeah, so the 49ers get Ryan Kelly, fill in their center hole, and they get the 2022 second round pick, which is 42nd, and then they get the 2023 6th and 7th round picks from the Colts. So Debo Samuel for Ryan Kelly, this year's 2nd and next year's 6th and 7th. What you think?
I mean, it makes sense. Absolutely. Colts need a receiver to go with Michael Pittman. I mean, if they were to get him, that would be nice with Matt Ryan, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and Debo.
And they have the money.
That would be a really nice format. Yeah, that is very true. And that's the one thing that you talked about, is the cap situation with all these teams. You have to take that into consideration when you're making these trades because these guys that are getting traded to these teams are going to be looking to have long-term contracts from that, So, it makes sense. Ryan Kelly, like you said, one of the best centers, if not the best center in the league, and you're getting him still in his prime. That's absolutely, something that would be a very nice return for them. Second round pick, I know that it's 42nd overall. It's still pretty high up there. That's in the top 10, I think, of the second round, which is very nice to have as well. So I think this is a very even trade. 2023, 6th and 7th. We'll see what can happen there. I would, see if I could bump one of those picks up, like instead of the 7th, maybe getting a 5th. If you could do that, I think that would be a really nice haul for the 49ers back. But I don't think that this is a bad haul by any means. I think that you've got a guy that's disgruntled, that wants to move on, that doesn't want to play for you, and you're getting pieces that you can use to not only replace him, but just make your team better. So I think that the trade makes sense. I would call it even for both teams on that one.
Yeah, something the 49ers, and they've needed it for a while, is interior offensive line help. They've needed that for basically like 2 or 3 years now. And with the absence, you got Tomlinson headed out in free agency, so he's off that line now. So all you really got is Trent Williams as your big guy. So, and adding Ryan Kelly, the Colts might be a little unwilling to depart with Ryan Kelly, but if you're getting Debo Samuel in return, I think you're pretty damn happy. So, yeah, I think the trade makes a lot of sense. So,
yeah, and that's the thing. You got to give a little to get a little, with all these trades. So,
and he was a
I like it.
He's a former first rounder himself. So you're basically getting a first rounder, and I think he's 28. So you've got plenty of playing years left with him, and then you pair that with the second. I mean, who gives a shit about the 6th and 7th? But you pair that with a second, like you said, a relatively high second, the 10th overall pick in the second round. Solid stuff.
Yeah.
So.
For sure.
All right. Let's move on to the next deal that I threw together on PFF, and that is the Tyler Lockett deal. This could also apply to DK Metcalf. The team that I'm going to talk about has plenty of space to deal with either guy, but DK would obviously go for a little bit of bigger price tag, but let's dive into it. So, Tyler Lockett, the Bears end up getting in on Tyler Lockett in the sweepstakes. They get Tyler Lockett. The Seahawks get a 2022 third and fifth round pick and a 2023 fifth round pick. What are your thoughts? Because so the reason I originally had DK slated to go to Chicago, and that could very well happen, but Chicago, I mean, they do have a new regime there, but they could not do anything with a guy like Allen Robinson, who wasn't that deep threat, but they could do a lot with a guy like Darnell Mooney, who was that deep threat. So Tyler Lockett, very similar play style to Darnell Mooney. So if you're looking to take shots down the field, a guy like Tyler Lockett would be a decently nice addition to add to that kind of play style, But I could easily see DK headed here too. You pair a superstar wide receiver with your rookie quarterback, and I know that didn't work very well with Allen Robinson, but now you've got Nagy out of town. I think it works a little better. They've got plenty of cap space, and the Bears, I don't think they're going to sit on their hands for a while. Like, the Bears are used to competing. I don't care if it's a new regime. So they're going to want to get back into contention pretty quickly, and I think a trade like this puts them, into the conversation a little bit. What do you think?
No. No. I have no idea what direction this team is going in. They
have a lot of cap space.
Anybody.
I will say that.
They signed, their biggest signings were Byron Pringle and Equanimeous St. Brown.
Yeah.
That's not going to do it. I feel so bad for Justin Fields because I have no idea what direction this team and this franchise is going right now. Even if you bring in Tyler Lockett, what's that doing? Like Rub said, who wants to take on that contract? That's just it's a nightmare in the making. And I don't know.
And they just cleared all those bad contracts off their books,
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're looking at a long-term perspective, what does Tyler Lockett bring from a long-term perspective? Like I would look at, I understand the deep ball aspect, like you said, with Darnell Mooney, and that's why you would want to bring him in for that. But I would rather have DK. I know you got to give up a little bit more, but
wouldn't you say that DK and Allen Robinson's play styles are pretty similar, though?
Allen Robinson's better route runner.
Yeah, but in general, pretty similar, And
yeah, they're physical. They're physical bodied wide receivers. Yeah. They're your Alshon Jeffrey type receiver.
Yeah,
that's they're not going to blaze past you with their speed. Although DK,
yeah, I know. I was about to say.
Ask Buda Baker about that one. No, yeah, I think that they do. He's definitely got the possibility of doing that. I see DK more on your team 3 to 4 years from now, rather than I see Lockett being an integral part of your team 3 to 4 years from now.
Okay. So do you think, let's say it is DK, do you think the Bears are a realistic destination?
Like I said, either one. I don't know what direction this team's going. Like, you drafted Justin Fields to build around Justin Fields, and you've done nothing this
And if you
offseason.
trade for
In
DK, though,
going,
you could give him a huge contract and then start that building process, and you've got plenty of cap to do it.
you can. What's their line like? I'm pretty sure their line isn't all that great either. I mean, that's what you've got to look at to start with, in my opinion, to really protect your quarterback. That's concern number one, and obviously a target for him to throw to, which would be DK more so than Lockett. Like, Lockett's not all Lockett's going to do is blaze past you. Like, that's it. That's the only thing that he has to offer, really, in my mind. Like, DK can go slants, back shoulder. He can do jump balls in the end, like things like that. He's just more athletic as a receiver, and that's why I think he would be a better fit for the Bears, because you can always go out and get a speedster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and they already have one in Darnell Mooney,
And
so
I just
having a guy like DK
right,
to offset that would,
right.
yeah.
And I just don't know why you would want to take on that contract. I know that you're only giving up a third and 2/5, but like, I just wouldn't want to take that contract on. But like you said, they've got a ton of space, so I mean, they definitely could.
The trade deal would look pretty similar. I was messing around with the DK trade for the Bears, and it would look pretty similar. The package, a little more, but nothing too crazy. So, yeah, I could see DK to Chicago being a definite possibility for sure. And if not,
Is DK still on his rookie deal,
yeah,
right?
so he's looking to get paid,
Yeah.
you know. So,
Okay.
all right. The last trade or potential trade blockbuster that could
Two
happen.
more.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I didn't scroll down. But yeah, two more. So, the second to last blockbuster trade that we have to potentially happen on draft night is Christian McCaffrey. And my team to enter the sweepstakes for CMC, the 49ers, man. So I've got the 49ers getting CMC, and the Panthers get in return a 2022 third round pick and 2023 pair of seventh rounders. The value on Christian McCaffrey, not very high in the eyes of PFF, but it makes sense because Christian McCaffrey has proved to be very injury prone so far. But dude, imagine Christian McCaffrey in a Kyle Shanahan offense. Like, I know Mike McDaniel was the offensive coordinator last year, but it's Kyle Shanahan's show. Like, it's going to look very similar. And the amount of things that he'd be able to do with Christian McCaffrey, I mean, just look at what he did with Debo. You know, imagine what he could do with a Swiss Army knife like Christian McCaffrey. I know you've already got Elijah Mitchell there, but you would probably prefer
And Trey Sermon.
yeah, if you want to call that an option. I think,
I mean, he was outlaw last year. You never know.
yeah, I mean, they didn't like him at all. Like, they liked JaMychal Hasty better. They liked Elijah Mitchell a hell of a lot better. And then they liked Jeff Wilson better, too. He was
I
the
mean,
fourth guy on the
yeah,
depth chart.
yeah. Like, McCaffrey obviously brings a completely new and dynamic piece, and I'm not going to say he replaces Debo, but he gives you that sort of player where you can
Yeah.
just get him the ball and he can do special things, and you can design your offense around him, and him and Trey Lance in the backfield. Yeah, that sounds great. But can McCaffrey stay healthy? That's the biggest contract. I mean, the biggest question with him, and taking on this contract. That is $64 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big ask, especially when you're shipping a guy that you could give that $64 million to in Debo Samuel. So that's the question that they're going to be asked with. If this were to present itself, is would we rather just pay Debo and keep him here, or do we want to take a chance and go after McCaffrey? What were the return on that? I think it was 2/3 and a fifth.
1/3 and a pair of sevenths.
Pair of seven. Yeah, Panthers aren't getting much, which they're kind of tied right now.
Mm-hmm.
And McCaffrey's got what, 2 more years? No, he's got 3 more years. Wow, he's got a huge contract on his hand.
Who, CMC?
Dang. Yeah, and that's why they obviously wouldn't get that much of a haul, because the contract is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Panthers are kind of got their hands tied in this situation. What do you think of it?
I like it a lot. Rubby? Yeah, I can't decide if it's Rubs. He just said 49ers would be electric. Yeah, dude, like I was thinking of possible destinations for him, and I was trying to think of teams without running backs, but then I thought, like, oh my gosh, like CMC and a Kyle Shanahan offense would be electric. I think it's a perfect fit. Like, I get your point with, okay, you're going to dive in on a contract for Christian McCaffrey, but then dip out on the money that you would have given to Debo. But the 49ers pride themselves on the run game. Like, they turned Debo Samuel into a running back last year. And Christian
For sure.
like, his strength is running, like, it being a running back, but he can also play wide receiver, CMC. It's the opposite for Debo. But you pride yourself on the running game in San Fran. So I think you would value a guy, if he could stay healthy, like CMC over Debo.
Where else could he go besides there? I was just thinking maybe the Bears as a possible.
Dave Montgomery, I feel like they're pretty solidified into him.
What other destinations would make sense? Texans?
Yeah, I know. I saw the Texans, but I was like, yeah, good luck. I mean,
Dolphins probably can't take that on. And Dolphins just got
Chase Edmonds.
Somebody in free agency.
And Kenyon, or no, not Kenyon Drake. Who's the other guy? Oh, Raheem Mostert.
I was going to say, I knew it was a 49ers running back. I couldn't remember who it was, but it was Mostert, yeah. So, yeah, there's, options are very, very slim for where he could go. And
the Ravens crossed my mind briefly. I know.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Because they don't really have the receiving threats to complement Lamar. So I know they've got JK, but if you get that 1-2 punch with CMC and JK, and you're already so strong in the running game how it is, so both guys would get plenty of touches.
What about the Patriots?
See, the Patriots are in a good spot as far as cap goes too for the next couple of years.
They've been really flying under the radar this year. They haven't really done much as far as the offseason because they made splashes last year.
Yeah, they didn't have anything.
But this year they've just really flown under the radar. The Bills, maybe the Bills could be a possibility for McCaffrey.
I thought about that. They don't have the cap for it. I thought about that too. And I also thought about the Chiefs. I tried to throw together a CEH CMC swap of some kind, but PFF seemed to value CEH like miles ahead of CMC, which I don't understand, but I mean, I get it. CEH still has a lot of career ahead of him, So
Jets.
I know. I thought about the Jets. I mean, they almost gave the money to Tyrique. Maybe they would give the money.
I think they like. I do. Yeah, you're right. I do think they like Michael Carter. So we'll see. I don't know. I was just spitballing with them.
Yeah.
I know some of my Jets friends will we're talking about AJ Brown as a possibility. That would be very interesting. But I think the Jets
pairing him up with Elijah Moore, those dudes are like best friends. So makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense. And they almost gave that money to the other wide receiver, Tyreek Hill. So
right, like you said.
All right, let's move on to the last trade that we got. Potential blockbuster to happen. And Jaden, you're gonna hate me after I say this, bro. I hope you're still tuning in. But so it is Baker Mayfield, and I've got the Steelers receiving Baker Mayfield, and I've got the Browns receiving a 2022 this year's first and third round picks from the Steelers, and then a 2023 and a 2024 fourth round pick. So Steelers get Baker Mayfield. They give away their first round pick, their third round pick in this year's draft, and 2 fourth rounders for the next 2 years. What do you think?
Very, very interesting to see if they would go, within division and give Baker a second chance in Pittsburgh. Oh man, the revenge that would be on his mind every time he were to go to Cleveland or play Cleveland. Just, I can only envision that. First and third, I don't see Baker getting a first round pick return. I
know. If you look at Carson and what he got, it makes sense. But the reason I threw it in there is like if you are thinking about taking a quarterback in the first round, like some Steelers fans are speculating, Baker Mayfield is probably better when healthy, unlike he was last year. He's probably better than every single prospect in this year's draft.
Yeah, I would say that for sure. I would say that Baker is better than Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, Desmond Ritter, Matt Corral, Sam Howell, all those guys. Yeah, I would absolutely say that
Exactly.
he's
So if you're
better.
going to spend that
But
first round pick on a quarterback anyway, why not? Why not get and quarterbacks are quarterbacks. Like you see the price that Carson Wentz for, but what did Baker Mayfield? Is he younger than Carson Wentz? I'm pretty positive he's younger than Carson
yes,
Wentz.
yes, yeah. He's the Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen. Where's that guy?
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson. That was that whole quarterback draft class.
Yeah, so you've got potential still left in Baker. So the price tag's going to be a little bigger. And I think it makes sense. I mean, the price for quarterbacks, especially guys who are still early on in their careers, is going to be high. Like for an operating quarterback in the NFL. And if this offseason has proven anything, it's that quarterbacks go for big time price tags. So it's
Quarterbacks are premium for sure.
it's not like they're giving up multiple first round picks. And like I said, if they're going to spend it on a quarterback anyway, why not Baker Mayfield? Does that change your thought process at all?
I mean, I get what you're saying. But I just did you make the Carson Wentz comparison and like Carson Wentz wasn't like, I want to leave Indy. I'm ready to get out of here.
Yeah.
A team went and got him. It's a different situation where Baker's like, I want to get out of here. And
The trade leverage isn't the same.
Exactly. Teams know that Baker wants to get out of Cleveland. So they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to give, like, they're basically going to say, like, I'm not going to give you a first rounder because I know that you are more desperate to get rid of him than I am to get him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense.
And as we get closer and closer to the draft, the more desperate the Browns will be to get rid of him.
Jaden just said Buffalo. I'm not sure what that is alluding to. Maybe
Baker to Buffalo?
No, maybe
backup?
maybe it was CMC. When
Yeah,
we talked,
I brought up.
Yeah, they don't have the cap.
We were
for
talking
it.
about the cap space.
Yeah, they don't have the cap.
Yeah,
for
that was the thing.
Yeah.
Because Buffalo was one of the first teams that came to my mind. So I was like Singletary and Zach Moss. I was like,
yeah, the Chiefs came to my mind.
They got him. If they got him to pair with Josh Allen and Diggs and Gabriel Davis, man.
If the Chiefs can get, I think CMC, because Buffalo, I feel like they already have the weapons. I don't know. Maybe that's not true. But I don't know. I could see CMC in a Chiefs jersey. Like they're looking for that pass catching back. It hasn't worked out with CEH. So, and you're missing Tyreek Hill. So if you can get the Panthers to eat some of that contract, and the same thing with Buffalo. If you can get the Panthers to eat some of that contract, you can go either of those places, maybe.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, him on the Chiefs, man, that'd be pretty wild. That would put them right back into the upper echelon. I mean, they're still there, but like into that premier category that they've been in.
You get what you thought you were going to get out of CEH in CMC.
Right.
You know. We got a comment from Tyler D. Walls. You know any Tyler D. Walls?
Oh shit. Yeah, my boy Walsey. What's up?
He said, I think you waste Elijah Mitchell, if you bring in CMC, plus the injury concern. I totally, I get that. I think there's room. I mean,
that's kind of what I was saying.
There's room for a lot of running backs at San Fran, dude. Like, that's been proved time and time again. There is plenty of room for plenty of work in that backfield.
Right, but what exactly? So why would you want to spend that kind of money on a guy that you might not utilize as much?
Because your running game is what you put your stamp on. That's your main strength. So putting most of the money towards the running back position makes a lot of sense. And they played two different styles. Elijah Mitchell is more of an in between the tackles kind of guy, and CMC gets injured when he's trying to run between the tackles. So you can kind of offset the two, you know.
I think Elijah Mitchell had a decent amount of catches.
He did. You're right.
I think from last year, I was like, I think that he is more of a pass catching back than you might think.
He's definitely got his pass, but he is definitely more of an in between the tackles guy than CMC is.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Thanks for the comment, by the way, Walsh, or the remark, I guess you can say.
And he finished it off with, as a Rams fan, I like to see Debo go, but he's what makes them scary. Yeah, I would want to see Debo leave that fucking division too, man.
Right. Well, and that's what we were talking about is basically what you're doing is you're trading Debo for Christian McCaffrey. That's essentially what you're looking at in that situation. And you're looking at, once again, a guy that you're just going to do everything you can to get him the ball. And if it's not Debo, then it's probably CMC. I mean, both those guys, they do very similar things for their respective offenses.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, so we're sitting at an hour 30 right now. Do you want to do the pre-draft season predictions and run through it, or do we want to?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, we'll rapid fire how we're feeling real quick.
Yeah, sweet. Sounds good to me. All right, man. Let's dive into. Hold on, we got a text from Jaden. Oh. They're commenting on the trades and stuff. I don't feel like reading through the chat. What are they saying, man? Tell me.
He said, Jaden, I don't know. Jaden said the highest most people are saying is for a second right now.
For Baker?
And if the demand isn't there, it's probably third. Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you. I told you the first round pick for Baker, I do not think is going to happen.
Says the guy who's throwing out Mac Jones as the MVP candidate to stay hot take-ish, man. What, I can't do the same thing? Come on, man.
Oh, you wait till you hear my hot take that I'm going to come up with for this season.
Oh, shit. All right. Let's dive into it, man. Without further ado, we have our pre-draft season predictions. Way too early predictions, if you will. That's going to be in the title. I've already thought about it. Way too early predictions, but it's never too early, man. It's fucking football. We got to get hyped somehow, you know? And we got a lot of it starting to fall into place. I mean, we got free agency out of the way, so how much... I mean, the draft will affect it a lot, but not too much, you know? So, all right. So, our MVP pick for next year. You can go ahead first, man. What you got?
I am going with Justin Herbert as my MVP for next year. I love the weapons that he has now. I don't see any way that he doesn't flourish. And I think that another year in that offense is only going to help him. I think their defense got better too, which is only going to help him as well because obviously their offense was able to put up points. You add Allen Robinson to that mix, and then you add J.C. Jackson on the defensive side, healthy Derwin James, Joey Bosa,
not Allen Robinson,
Khalil Mack.
The other LA.
I mean, they've got things put in place to. I think that they're going to win the AFC West next year, and I think that they're going to be the number one team in the AFC. I think it's going to be them or the guy that you might have as your MVP. One of those two teams is going to be the one seed in the AFC.
Nice. I like it. I like the Herbert pick. I can't argue with that. My guys very much align with that thinking, and it is Josh Allen. And I say that because, dude, watching a lot of football last year, as we all did, I can confidently say by the end of the year, Josh Allen was a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. Just as a general quarterback, I mean, the things that he was doing at the end of the year, he should have won that game. It was unbelievable. I could not believe what I was seeing. And obviously, Patrick's got his own thing, but Patrick just lost his main guy, Tyrique. So it's going to take some time. Like, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes is nothing without Tyreek Hill, obviously, but it's going to take him a year to adjust. So I think Patty falls out of that race. I like Herbert, but Josh Allen looked clearly like the best quarterback in the NFL last year by the end of the year. So I'm going to go Josh Allen as my MVP. All right.
The other guy I would really keep an eye on that I think is going to end up in the top 3 for MVP is Lamar. I think Lamar is going to have a really good season. I think that getting Ronnie Stanley back is going to be huge. I think one of the most underrated signings of the offseason was them signing Morgan Moses. I think it is a great fit for him. I know that they lost Bozeman, but I think the Ravens with a healthy Ronnie Stanley, getting Dobbins back in the backfield, I love Lamar's chances at being up there with the best when it comes down to it at the end of the year, as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, I mean, he's proved he can win an MVP once, and he at times last year looked like an MVP quarterback. For a while, the leading contender. So definitely could do it again with a healthy team all around him.
You know what's really wild? Mm-hmm. All those names we just mentioned, all AFC.
I know. I don't even think about the NFC when I'm thinking about the NFL anymore. I mean, it's like an ancient conference. Like, it's just gone.
You think Deshaun Watson could contend for MVP?
No, because I think the running
Man,
game
with
is going
that
to
line
still.
and Amari,
I know. I think that running game is still going to have. I think he'll be great, but I think that running game is still going to have a lot to do with the offense in Cleveland, and he won't be able to win the MVP because he won't be able to put the team on his back by himself. You know.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Guy like Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, on the other hand, yes. All right, let's move on to our dark horse team, a team that we like to be sneaky good this year. I'll go ahead and give my first one, and you got some differing. How about we go ahead and then say our dark horse team and our overhyped team, and we'll just do that together. So
All right,
yeah,
go for it.
all right. So I've got as my dark horse team, I've got the Miami Dolphins. Man, that team outside of the quarterback position is set up like a Super Bowl roster right now. I mean, they've brought arguably the fastest wide receiver core in the history of football right now. And then you've got Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert, two extremely fast guys in the backfield. I mean, this Mike McDaniel offense is going to be exciting to watch. And the defense has been set up to be great for a couple of years now. The only question is quarterback Tua. But as I mentioned earlier, in a Mike McDaniel offense, in a 49ers style offense, he's not going to be asked to do a whole ton. He's going to do the bare minimum. A lot of it's going to be about creating space for Jalen Waddle and Debo Samuel to run. I think it's going to be very similar to that 49ers offense. So it'll be similar to the production that Jimmy G put up. And Jimmy G, I mean, at times he lost games to the 49ers, but most of the time he wasn't in a position to either win or lose the game for the team. So that's my dark horse team. And then my overhyped team is the Broncos, man. And I say this because I was a huge fan of the Broncos for a while initially after the Russell Wilson news, but Russell Wilson was not good when we saw him at the end of last year. Granted, he was not healthy, I guess, but I mean, he was healthy enough to come back and play. But he's an older quarterback. I don't think he's going to have like an MVP-esque season by any means. And the offense, like the team around him, is not as good as the receiver weapons for sure are not as good as he had in Seattle. Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, they're great, but they're no DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. You've got the running back and you got the defense, but yeah, I think the Broncos, I think they'll be good, but I think they're way overhyped. I don't think they're going to be any kind of Super Bowl running team or anything like that. So, all right, man, go ahead and give me your dark horse and overhyped team, and you're going to go ahead and shit on the Dolphins real quick.
Yep, they are my overhyped team. I am still, it remains to be seen when it comes to Tua as to whether or not I'm a believer. I'm still not a believer in Tua. It's going to obviously take a big year this year for me to be a believer in Tua. But schedule, they have a pretty difficult schedule. So you obviously have the Bills, Patriots, Jets, home and away. Then your other games at home are the Browns, the Steelers. We'll see what happens with the quarterback situation there. The Vikings and the Texans. So the Texans, I will say the Jets should be wins. But then you've got the Patriots, Vikings, Steelers, which could be toss-up games. And then the Browns, Packers, and Bills, I think, are in the upper echelon of teams that you're going to play. The away games, Bills, Patriots, Jets, like we said, but they play the Ravens on the road, the Bengals on the road. The Bears, I'll probably give them that win. But, hey, in Chicago, depending on when that game is, if it's Miami going from sunny Miami to, Chicago in December, could be interesting. The Lions will probably win that. But then they also have the Chargers and the 49ers. So you've got Chargers, 49ers, Packers, Steelers, Browns, Bills twice, Vikings, Ravens, Bengals. I mean, it's a difficult schedule, and that's why I think that they're going to end up flopping. And the reason being is because you got to imagine that the Bills are going to win that division. Then you've got to look at the other divisions in the in the AFC, and you're going to have probably 3 teams from the AFC West.
Yeah,
I would, and then how many teams from the AFC North? With the Ravens, the Browns, the Bengals, and the Steelers.
Dude, I don't even think the Ravens make the playoffs, man. That's kind of my hot take.
I think the Ravens are going to win that division.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, that's hot take-ish. That's hot take-ish for sure. But I think the
they're going
off
to
the
win the
field
division.
stuff with Lamar and him negotiating his own contract is going to fuck with him a little bit this year. Like, I mean, he's playing for his own value and he's negotiating it himself. So the pressure literally couldn't be. But Lamar Jackson is built different, so maybe he's going to handle it better than most people.
Do you think the Titans and Colts both make the playoffs?
I don't think the Colts make the playoffs. No,
You don't think the Colts make the playoffs?
I do
Really?
not. Mm-mm.